Hey up everybody, how we doing? I'm James.
I'm Laura.
And we're back again for another silly movie marathon challenge this weekend. We thought we'd tackle this time the Harry Potter series. We're not doing Fantastic Beasts because we haven't fortunately enough time to get all the films in, but we thought we'd do Harry Potter films 1 through 8. Obviously 7's 2 parts, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to watch them, we're going to do little reviews afterwards. Those reviews are going to be, 5 or 6 minutes long per film. We're going to put it all together as one long video, so the whole thing's probably going to be, 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. Bit of a vlog. I hope you find what we have to say interesting. As with a lot of stuff, this is our opinions, and yours might differ and stuff. Happy to engage in any sort of discussion in the comments below and stuff like that. But we're just having a good time and a laugh watching some of our favourite films on a very cold winter weekend. We'll see you now after the Philosopher's Stone.
All
Cheers.
right, Jeff. See you.
So, hello folks, we are back.
Yeah, we are.
So, as we've already said in the intro, we're watching the Harry Potter series over the course of this weekend. We have just watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Sorcerer's Stone if you're based in the States. It's the first film in the film series, obviously based on the first novel by J.K. Rowling. So the film stars Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint as the trio of main characters, Harry, Ron and Hermione. The supporting cast is rounded out by Maggie Smith, Richard Harris, Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, and the villain of the piece played by Ian Hart, who plays Quirrell. Obviously, who is sort of, what's that one? Would you call him possessed or inhabited?
I said inhabited.
Yeah, inhabited by Lord Voldemort, and as we later find out, as the story and the films and even the books progressed, he's one of the Horcruxes. Laura, what's your thoughts on the film?
I really like it. I think it's a really good setup for what an amazing series the films turn out to be. Very good casting. You listed off the cast there. You've also got John Hurt as Mr. Ollivander, the wand seller. You've got Warwick Davis and Vern Troyer, who play two of the goblins at Gringotts as well. Really, really good cast. They all really work on their roles really, really well.
Absolutely. So the story starts, we find young Harry Potter living with his aunt, his uncle and his cousin. He's treated horribly by them, and it's a very hostile environment that he's grown up in. He's very much just sort of like we see him as he's living in the cupboard under the stairs. He's the servant. He's not allowed anything of his own. Everything that he has is a hand-me-down from his cousin, until one day a letter turns up in the post for Harry, and then the world sort of starts to turn upside down. We fast forward, he's invited to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry after learning that he's not only a wizard but a famous wizard for as a baby defeating the evil you-know-who, Lord Voldemort. As we said, he meets Ron, Hermione along the way, and the whole host of characters.
He starts to develop his status at the school. He becomes the seeker for the Quidditch team, which is a really big thing. Not only that, he's the youngest person ever to play in the Quidditch team, and
I think for 100 years they said, don't they? Yeah.
His dad was also on the Quidditch team as the seeker as well, so it's in his blood.
Absolutely.
As well, and he gets right into that. Everybody supports him during that.
He does, and the film sort of leads you on a bit of a twist and a turn sort of thing, and it runs the narrative very much as though Professor Snape's the villain of the piece, right from the offset. When you first catch a glimpse of him in the dining scene at the Great Hall, he's got this horrible look about his face, and he's not at all happy that Harry's there. He embarrasses Harry in the first potions lesson. Harry catches on that he's got the bite on his leg. Snape's got the bite on his leg.
Percy Weasley says that he's been after Quirrell's job for years.
Absolutely.
So we're made to think he's trying to hijack Professor Quirrell as well. And
then the plot starts to evolve around sort of the theft of the Philosopher's Stone, or the attempted theft of it, and the trio think that Snape's the one behind it. Of course, as the plot unfolds, we find out that it's actually Quirrell, who is actually Voldemort. They successfully stop him, as we know, and and all's well that ends well until they start the next term. But to say that the three kids that obviously Daniel, Emma, and Rupert, when they were doing this were like I think 10, 11 and 12 between the three of them.
So young.
And but they do a really good job. We're nearly. It's scary to say because I remember seeing it in the cinemas, but we're nearly 20 years on from the first film coming out. I think it came out in early 2001. So
I was 5.
Yeah, we're 19 years and a bit on. It's 20 years on from when they started filming it. 'Cause Daniel Radcliffe was on a UK talk show the other week saying just that. But yeah, ballpark figures 20 years on. The film holds up. The acting from the kids is great. And one thing I do like about the whole series is that it's a bit of a time capsule. We're going to move on now, obviously, to Chamber of Secrets. Come back after our thoughts on that. Laura, just a quick fire out of 10.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. Good cast, very good setup for the series as a whole. Really good story behind it. 8.5.
Fair enough. I'm going to go 7. Absolutely loved the film. Always have done. It's one of my favourites of the series. To be fair, good cast, good story, good introduction. Happy with it. 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
We'll see you after the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, we will.
Cheers. Hey up.
Hello.
So we're back. It's 20 to 1 in the morning. And we are done for this first evening, this first day, if you like. We've watched Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Laura, what did you think?
I liked it. I liked the story again. You get to find out a little bit more about the history of Hogwarts. You've got all the founders of the houses and things like that, and you get to find out one of them went a bit rogue and developed this big chamber hidden in the castle and the horrible secret that's hidden in there. And I liked the scary aspect it took halfway through it as well. I like how they brought that all together and how students were getting attacked and nobody knew what it was. It had happened before, and how they tried to find out who's done it before and see if they have any knowledge of how it's happened again. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one thing I quite like about these films is because obviously it focuses on the trio of kids, and as they get older, and as the story progresses and they sort of like move through, it's the same reading the books as well. Obviously. Sure, anybody watching this video has read the books, seen the films multiple times. They get more mature as they go. Like the first one's like it really is a kid's book. Or it is, isn't it? It's a real sort of family friendly sort of you could let your 8, 9, 10-year-olds read it, and then they as they get older and older the story sort of matures more, and obviously it's all family entertainment, isn't it? But anyway, this film. We pick up with Harry in the summer holidays. He's not heard from anybody. Dobby shows up at the house telling Harry he can't go back to Hogwarts for fear of a plot to make terrible things happen. Harry refuses not to go, so Dobby causes havoc. The Dursleys lock Harry up, which is when the Weasleys come and break him out. Flash forward, we're at Hogwarts. Strange and mysterious things start to happen. People start getting petrified. We start with Filch's cat, and then we go on to there's Justin. I think he's in Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw.
I think he's Hufflepuff. Yeah.
There's the lad Justin. There's nearly headless Nick. There's Hermione.
Colin the photographer.
That's right as well. Yeah. And there's this whole sort of, I think, because Harry can speak to snakes, which is something that they established in the last one.
They all assume he's going to be the heir of Slytherin as well.
Yeah, they like I said, yeah, absolutely right, mate. That assumption that he's the heir of Slytherin. And we sort of go on that journey. We're led to believe that Hagrid's actually behind it to a degree, as Harry discovers a diary that seems to sort of contain the spirit of a chap called Tom Riddle. Obviously, we find out that Tom Riddle is Voldemort's given name, and that the diary is actually another Horcrux. Well, we don't learn that until later on, but the diary is the second Horcrux. Harry, along with Ron and Lockhart, who's the Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher in this one.
Who is played by the very talented Kenneth Branagh.
Absolutely. After it's revealed that Lockhart is a fraud, the three of them make their way into the Chamber of Secrets after discovering that it's in the plumbing and accessed in the ladies' loo. Lockhart tries to do a memory charm to get rid of Harry and Ron's memories so that he doesn't have to go through with it.
But he uses Ron's wand, which broke at the beginning of the film, and is now backfired every time he used it.
Absolutely. So it backfired onto Lockhart, and obviously loses his memory. Harry goes into the chamber, confronts the sort of apparition of Tom, battles with the basilisk with the help of the Sorting Hat, Fawkes the Phoenix. Ultimately manages to kill the basilisk, and stabs through the diary, obviously killing the Horcrux apparition of Voldemort. Hagrid, who's been accused of doing all this, has been locked up in Azkaban and obviously gets released, and that's where it is.
Yeah.
We've recapped. We didn't need to. I'm sure everybody knows the story. Again, the acting from the kids, it just sort of. You can tell every film that goes on, they get better.
I love Ron in this one when they go into the dark forest to follow the spiders. His voice just gets higher and higher.
Yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
Funny.
But you can tell that the three of them in the main cast,
really starting to bond.
Exactly. Yeah, they're really starting to bond, and you can tell that they're sort of good mates outside of it, and sort of thing. And there's nothing worse than when you see actors working together where you can tell that there's no chemistry there, and obviously. It's so valuable to the overall bit with this. Supporting cast again is fantastic. As Laura's mentioned, Kenneth Branagh is hilarious as Gilderoy Lockhart.
Julie Walters as Molly Weasley, she's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously returning characters. You got Maggie Smith, you got Alan Rickman. Last appearance for Richard Harris as Professor Dumbledore.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely, is a shame that we don't see any more of him. Much as happy with what Richard Harris has done, I am a Michael Gambon fan as well. I think both of them did good jobs with what they've done and brought things. I mean, and I've said before, and we'll get to it as we come on. I don't know, and I know we never got to see it, so we'll never know. But I don't know if Richard Harris would have been able to sort of physically do some of the things that Dumbledore's required to do later on in the series. Who knows? But anyway, it was his last performance in this series anyway. I don't know whether it was his last acting role altogether.
I don't think it was, but this was certainly...
I honestly don't know, but like I say, I know he passed away not too long after this came out, but before the third one was filmed anyway. But yeah, like I say, just an all-round, really good film. Obviously it's well written by Joe Rowling. Adapted really well by Chris Columbus. These first two have got a really a really sort of, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but the aesthetic of them is really it sort of really fits the tone of the stories and things like that. And then I think obviously as you start to sort of move on into the later series, I know the last three are directed by I think the same guy, aren't they? But there's the next couple of three I've got different directors, and sort of, for me actually, sometimes that tonal shift of, Alfonso Cuarón does the next one, and that actually really takes me out of thing. You got any more thoughts on this one?
I'm still quite scared of this film, I should say. The first time I watched it I was 7, so probably a big mistake, but it still scares me just a little. There are scenes in it where it just gives you the heebies. And the effect it has on certain people. Certain scenes they've done really, really well. They've played it out to be quite eerie and quite spooky, and that's what I really like about this film. I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah.
Fair enough. This one is my favourite of the series, and I don't expect. I love the whole series, and I don't expect this marathon's going to change my opinion of my overall favourites. But this one is. If I fancy watching a Harry Potter movie, this is the one I go and grab. For me, it's getting an 8.5 out of 10. I absolutely love this film. But we'll see you tomorrow, probably around lunchtime. Be a few seconds for you guys, but for us it'll be tomorrow around lunchtime after we've watched Prisoner of Azkaban.
My favourite.
We'll see you then.
Yeah, see you.
Hello.
Hello.
So we are back after a night's sleep, really. It's just gone lunchtime, and ill prepared as always with these marathons. We have just watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Obviously, we'll be moving on to Goblet of Fire this afternoon before I'm out this evening. But anyway, we'll talk about Prisoner of Azkaban. Basic plot, obviously, we pick up Harry over the summer holidays. Vernon's sister Marge comes to stay. Played impeccably by, is it Pam Ferris?
Yeah.
The actor who played Trunchbull from Matilda anyway. And she carries much of the same energy with this when she's in it, in a hilarious, extended cameo, I suppose you'd call it, really. She ends up inflating, blowing up, and sort of making her way up from Surrey to
Sheffield, lower end of Sheffield.
I'm going to say not too far from where we are in Sheffield, and
I believe what Cornelius Fudge said was settling around a chimney stack.
Yeah. Anyway, we then sort of learn that Sirius Black, who is a notorious murderer, has escaped from Azkaban prison, and those in the know inform Harry Potter that the reason he's escaped from Azkaban is to come and kill Harry as part of Voldemort's dastardly plan. We go through the school year. We meet Professor Lupin, again played fantastically by David Thewlis. He puts in a really good turn. He's a really likeable character, and obviously his story develops. You learn, obviously, clues in the name, but you learn that he's a werewolf, and he's also a childhood friend of Harry Potter's parents, as well as Sirius Black and a chap named Peter Pettigrew, who in this film is played by Timothy Spall. So Peter Pettigrew, it turns out, is an animagus and has been posing for the last 12 years as Ron's rat Scabbers. That's one of the murders that Sirius Black was accused of committing. It all turns out that Sirius is in fact innocent, and that the whole thing has been orchestrated by Peter Pettigrew, who was actually the one trying to carry out Voldemort's wishes. And sadly, Pettigrew escapes. Sirius has to go into hiding, but doesn't mind doing so, knowing that his family and his friends know the truth.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the Crookshanks film.
I absolutely love this film. It's probably my favourite out of the series. I don't think anything's going to change my mind about that. It's got a really good storyline to it. The cast are absolutely brilliant, as always, reprising all their roles. We are also introduced to Michael Gambon, who plays Professor Dumbledore in replacement of Richard Harris, who rather sadly passed away. You've got the very talented Gary Oldman, who plays Sirius Black. You've got Emma Thompson, who plays Professor Trelawney.
Absolutely.
That role was made for her, I'm telling you. Really good story. I just love how it all feels quite spooky and quite dark and gothic in this one. Like, you've got the Shrieking Shack, and obviously I'm obsessed with haunted, scary places, so that kind of place...
Cheers.
That place is... That really...
You wouldn't believe the places I've been dragged on spooky nights.
Shut up, you like it. No, I absolutely love it. I think this film really just... Obviously, I've got childhood memories associated with this film, so this is definitely my favourite. I just love how the storyline works. You've got returning characters, new characters. I think it all works absolutely brilliantly. I like it.
It's a really... Do you know, it's a really good story. I love the book, and don't get me wrong, I like the film. I really like the film. There isn't a single film in this, in the Harry Potter part of the franchise that I don't like anyway. I was indifferent towards Fantastic Beasts and have yet to see the sequel, so you never know. But anyway, that's we're not covering those. We're just doing the 8 Harry Potters here. This one, I don't know. It's weird. Like, there's always going to be one film in a series, for everybody. That they're gonna sort of, it's going to be the least favourite, even if they like it. There are bits of this that I absolutely love. There are some bits of it, like, I think what it is for me, it's like, you were talking there about the sort of like how it's a bit more spooky and possibly a bit more gothic and stuff. Like, I know that theme sort of continues into the later films, but I think in the later films, for me at least, they got more of a blend of what Chris Columbus and co. had set up in the first two, right, and the gothic feel, as I talked about in the last review, with the characters sort of growing up and evolving and the stories becoming, darker and that sort of thing. But for me, there were parts of this film that visually felt jarring compared to the last film. And as well, I think that the book's always been my favourite of the books, and I just thought that there were bits missing or bits that I'd have done differently. And you know what it's like when you read a book, you envisage things in your head, a certain way for so long, and then when they adapt it into a film, sometimes things don't live up to how you thought they might be. So I don't dislike it at all. I do like it, but it's by no means my my favourite. I'm gonna go 6 out of 10 for this one.
I'm gonna give this one an 8 because, like I said, it's one of my personal favourites. I don't think anything's gonna change my mind about that. I'm gonna give it an 8.
So you feel this way the same way I pretty much feel about Chamber of Secrets?
Yeah. My least favourite film is your favourite. Your least favourite is my favourite. Okay. Yeah, but there you go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it'd be a very boring place if we all thought the same. And I mean, it's probably come across so far three mini reviews in, but we'll try to look at these sort of subjectively as we go. You know, sort of you can look at all these things objectively on their own merits, but we want to give you our opinions on these films. You know, both sort of overarching opinions and how we feel watching them this particular marathon. Anyway, we're going to crack on because, as I say, we've got Goblet of Fire to watch next. If you've browsed through this YouTube channel, you'll have seen that I'm quite a keen musician, and this evening I'm out playing with a band. So I'm going to be sort of needing to leave at about sort of 4:30, 4:45 to go and set up for the evening's festivities, and Laura's coming with me to do a few backing vocals.
Mostly do photography.
And the photography as well. She's a pretty good photographer. But yeah, so we're going to watch the one more today. Possibly make a start on the other one when I get back, or it's going to be gone midnight. So
maybe make a start on it, but maybe not finish the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on, and then the remaining will be done tomorrow. Yeah. We'll see you after Goblet. Cheers.
Yeah, see you.
So, hello, we are back again.
We are.
So, you probably can't tell, to be fair, because it's all in quick succession in a video. But with the next morning, so as I mentioned last night, I went and played a gig. Laura did a guest spot as well, doing a few backing vocals, as we mentioned, and then the night closed out with the band that I'm currently with playing a set as well. So we went and did that last night, left the house at about 5 o'clock and didn't get back to here until gone 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was a long old night, a fun old night, but a long one all the same. So anyway, we're now the next morning. We have actually just watched Order of the Phoenix, but first we need to talk about our thoughts on Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Quick summary of the story that we all know. Harry goes into his 4th year at Hogwarts. He starts having dreams about Voldemort's return, being aided by who we later learn to be Barty Crouch Jr. and obviously the escaped Wormtail from Prisoner of Azkaban. They get to Hogwarts and find out that the school is hosting the Triwizard Tournament, a magical competition against 3 competing schools, Durmstrang, Beauxbatons and obviously Hogwarts. There's meant to be a champion for each school. The Hogwarts champion is Cedric Diggory. Beauxbatons is Fleur Delacour, and Victor Crumb is the Durmstrang champion. We also meet Victor at the start of the film because he's actually the Bulgarian
Seeker.
Seeker for the Quidditch team. And of course, because it's a Harry Potter film, Harry's name also gets been spat out of the goblet despite him not being old enough to compete and not meeting the rules. However, the man in charge of the competition, Barty Crouch Senior, says that the rules are airtight, and that if the goblet spits his name out, he has to compete.
It's a binding contract, is what he said. Is the goblet? Yeah. Binding
contract. That's the one. Couldn't remember the words, but so they compete. They go up against dragons. They have to rescue the friends from mermaids and the Black Light. The final task is them retrieving a cup from a maze filled with enchantments and the like. The cup's supposed to be a portkey to the finish line, but it's actually not. It's a portkey to Voldemort's family estate, and where we meet up again with Wormtail, and it's finally revealed, although we all knew it was coming, that Lucius Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle's fathers are Death Eaters. Voldemort is resurrected. He and Harry duel. Cedric Diggory's killed along the way. Harry escapes with Cedric's body, manages to come back to Hogwarts. Now, I've not mentioned Alistair Moody, who's the new Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher. He assists Harry through most of the film, preparing for the various tasks in the Triwizard Tournament, and sort of acts as a
guardian.
Yeah, a bit of a guardian and a bit of a point of contact for Harry. It's actually revealed that through Polyjuice Potion, he is actually Barty Crouch Jr., who's one of the secondary villains of the film, and that's revealed that that's how Harry is entered into the competition. Again, you've got a really strong cast returning. So obviously the main trio return: Alan Rickman, Gary Oldman, Michael Gambon, Maggie Smith. Absolutely fantastic, rounded out cast. Ralph Fiennes makes his debut as Lord Voldemort.
And Brendan Gleeson plays Mad-Eye Moody.
He does indeed, yeah. Both two standout bits of casting.
Yeah. David Tennant plays Barty Crouch Jr. Roger Lloyd Pack, who is sadly no longer with us, plays Barty Crouch Sr.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just a well rounded out cast. I really like how this one sort of feels. Like, it feels darker.
Yeah.
But the aesthetic feels in line with the first two films. Like, it feels like the same place. Like I said, that the last one has always felt really sort of like visually, and the aesthetic of it's always felt really disjointed from the from the two that came previous. Whereas this one just feels like a natural continuation. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I liked it. Really good storyline. Again, brilliant casting. I loved how the tension of each task built up. You've got the anxieties. Harry fights a dragon, then your nerves and the tension builds up as he's swimming underwater against a time limit, and he gets attacked by the Grindylow towards the end, and you don't think he's going to make it, and everything. And then obviously the spookiness of that maze. You're made to think there are creatures in there that, as Dumbledore warned you, people change in the maze. Yeah, I love how the effects bring all those challenges together, and just you're always on the line. You're like, is he going to do it? Is he going to? Yeah. It's amazing. That I really liked how they did all that and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Voldemort's return is really creepy as well.
It's horrifying.
Like, I think, because I said we've just watched Order of the Phoenix as well, and as the films go on, Voldemort gets less and less scary.
I think this is definitely his
and actually, sort of by the last one, for me at least, he's a little bit laughable.
Yeah.
Like the voice gets really exaggerated with
Some
the
of
spells,
the noises he
and
makes.
sort of the grunts and the groans and stuff. But in this one, he's really sinister.
The makeup does absolute wonders.
Yeah,
definitely.
The makeup's to a T. I like the film. It's one I quite often go back and watch if I'm just in the mood for Harry Potter and want to put a random one on. Number 4 is quite often one of the ones that gets picked.
It's also the year nobody cut their hair.
It is, yeah. But it's you know what? It just stands up. I mean, they all do, don't they? Really. But it's it's a favourite. I'm gonna go and score it the same as I gave the first one. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10.
I'm going to give it 7.5, 8 out of 10. Definitely, yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Very good. So we shall see you momentarily after our vlog for Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Cheers. Now then, so we're back again, literally seconds later. Both in the video and in real time as well. We've this morning watched Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix after the fallout of the last film. The Ministry for Magic, and in particular the Minister and his sort of close sort of colleagues, don't believe that Voldemort's returned. Harry and Dumbledore are
the victims of a smear campaign almost.
Yeah, pretty much, absolutely.
Fudge.
By Fudge and the Daily Prophet, and the wizarding world is pretty much just split into two. There are people who believe Voldemort has returned, believe Dumbledore's word, and then there are the people who believe Fudge and believe that he hasn't come back. So Harry returns to Hogwarts to find that the Defence Against the Dark Arts post has been filled by Dolores Umbridge, who is a vile creature.
She's the worst creature ever. She's just, we could go on a 10-minute rant in this video just about how horrible she is.
But we're not gonna.
Obviously.
But yeah, just sort of backtrack a little bit. Over the summer holidays, Harry's attacked by a Dementor, and has to use the Patronus charm to fend off the Dementor in front of his cousin Dudley. Otherwise, Dudley was going to have the Dementor's kiss performed on him.
Yeah.
The Ministry then takes Harry to trial for that. Dumbledore steps in, and is obviously able to convince the the ministry that it's not the right thing to do to prosecute him, and that sort of really sets the tone for the relationship between the ministry and Hogwarts in this film. So, as I say, flash forward, we're back at Hogwarts. Umbridge is the new Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher, sets them a course that they're not going to be learning any defensive magic at all. They're going to be studying the theory of it to pass the exams. Obviously, her and Harry immediately clash and butt heads. And with some coaxing from Ron and Hermione, they decide to set up the Dumbledore's Army, which is their own defence against the dark arts lessons, led primarily by Harry. Harry begins having visions through the film. Initially has a vision that Mr. Weasley is attacked in the Ministry buildings.
By Nagini,
Yeah, by Nagini the Snake. Yeah, it turns out to be true. Things progress with Umbridge at the castle. She becomes aware of the Dumbledore's Army group. Dumbledore actually takes the blame for it to save the trio from getting expelled.
And makes his exit in a rather spellbinding way.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. We seem to have hit this little snag that I'm going to, what's the phrase?
Go quietly.
Yeah, come quietly and
whoosh!
Gone. You might not like it, Minister, but you've got to admit, Dumbledore's got style.
Yes.
It's like one of the favourite bits of the film. So, they're, they rush off after Harry has a vision of Sirius being attacked by Voldemort in the Ministry, Department of Mysteries. They rush off to the Ministry to find out that it's actually a vision that's been planted there by Voldemort to draw them out. They battle the Death Eaters. Sirius Black is ultimately killed in that battle, and they end up sort of having to go into battle with Voldemort. Mostly Harry. Dumbledore shows up. There's a bit of a duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort.
Voldemort possesses Harry one last time before disappearing, just in time for Fudge to see for himself that Voldemort's back.
Absolutely, yeah. And you get the he's back.
He's back.
And then through the Daily Prophet, we see that Fudge is to resign. Dumbledore's reinstated at the school. That
Umbridge is suspended pending investigation.
Absolutely, and basically every wrong in the film is righted.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what? For me, this one is kind of the boring one. Imelda Staunton is the standout.
She really is.
I don't quite know, because I've read the book 2 or 3 times. I've seen the film countless times. I always think of her as the main villain of the film, and that Voldemort's almost like the secondary villain.
A lot of people wanted
film.
her dead a lot more than Voldemort, let's be honest.
You hate her more than Voldemort.
You do. When I was reading the books, when I did read Order of the Phoenix, I imagined her exactly as she is presented in this film. Yeah, she's just every single evil teacher in high school that I remember. She really, truly is.
Yeah, she's just horrible, and the fact that she plays it with that so sickly sweet sort of it makes it so much more sinister, doesn't it?
Everything's pretty and pink, and everything's about cats and things like that. Oh, it's evil. No, yeah. I think I like this film because you get to see some of the development of the background characters. Neville becomes a bit more confident in himself. The Weasley twins, they go and basically leave Hogwarts and start up their own personal business, which we later see in the next film is a joke shop, which takes place in Diagon Alley and things like that. You get to see the development of a lot of background characters, which is what I really like.
It's another... It's sort of like, for me, this one's sort of like the introduction to the second half of the story. If you imagine the first 3 or 4 films are, the first part of the story, and this sort of 5 onwards, 5 through story 7. I know we ended up with 8 films, but 5 through story 7. It's sort of like, it's almost like we meet Luna, and like you say, Neville gets a bit of an expansion and starts to come into his own, and Ginny becomes more of a sort of
in their character.
Yeah, she's sort of part of the group rather than just being a secondary character sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like I say, I think it's just overall, it's this one and the next one for me.
This one feels more like filler.
Well, yeah, it's not.
Would you say filler?
I'd probably get more like exposition, like this one and Half-Blood Prince, especially reading the books. I know we're reviewing the films here, but reading the books. This one and Half-Blood Prince feel like we've got a big finale coming, we've set the scene with the first 4, here's all the stuff you need to know so that the end makes sense.
Yeah. We absolutely just go when Harry's doing all that stuff with Snape to try and control his mind. We get a little glimpse into Snape's past as well, and that really opens up Snape's story as well. Again, development of some of the characters, and we get to see a bit more of Snape and his personality. And
it sort of
it
does shed that bit of light for Harry, doesn't it? As to actually, when his dad were in school, he might have grown up to be a really decent bloke, but
he was actually, a bit of a bully.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was bit offside really, wasn't he? And I suppose you only get that little clip and it's from Snape's perspective, and as Dumbledore says in the next film where they're looking in the Pensieve going through the memories, I think it is, isn't it? Memories can be altered and whatever, but anyway, it's a whole other debate. I just find this one just a little bit sort of like a bit boring, and there's some really great parts to it.
What would you give it?
Do you know what? I think I'm going to go 5.5 for this one.
I'm going to say 6, but I'm going to give Imelda Staunton her own personal rating of 10 out of 10 for her amazing acting in this film. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I gave Azkaban a 6, and that is usually my least favourite, but just watching this one this morning, and sort of thinking about previous viewings, I don't know. I'm gonna go 6. Yeah, I'm gonna up it to a 6, but for different reasons to Azkaban. So I'm gonna 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree 6. But again, Imelda Staunton 10 out of 10.
Yeah, she definitely gets a 10 out of 10
Brilliant,
for that fantastic performance. So we'll see you in a couple of hours. We'll watch the Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See you later.
Hey up folks, so we're back. We've just watched Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and again we'll do as we've always done, a quick recap. In the fallout of Sirius Black's death, the Ministry realising that Voldemort is indeed back, Harry's obviously a bit upset and a bit restless, and then learns from Dumbledore about Horcruxes, via looking back through memories of an old Hogwarts professor, Slughorn, who they asked to come out of retirement, and that's ably played by Jim Broadbent. And so this film, much like the book, is one. It's sort of like, probably more so than the fifth one, it's the book where it ties up all the loose ends. And do you know, it's weird. This one was one of the adaptations where I was very disappointed with it when I saw it in the cinema, because there's so many memories that they go and look at in the book. There's meeting Voldemort's mum and granddad, seeing more of Voldemort in his school years, and even Voldemort as he's Voldemort applying to be the Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher, none of which was filmed, none of which is included. The film, it does follow the plot of the book. It's got a few different inclusions there. It doesn't open with Cornelius Fudge telling the Muggle Prime Minister of the new dangers and the fact that he's resigned and that there'll be a new chap along the way, sort of thing, which is a shame. And it also doesn't include the bit where obviously we learn of Sirius Black and his will, and that Harry's inherited everything. I mean, it's a given, but the opening of the book plays out differently, and then the bit at the Burrow over Christmas, I don't believe is in the original book either. But that was actually a nice addition. It sort of picked the pace up in the middle of the film. This film is very much the exposition, isn't it? It's you need to know all this because book 7, we're going hard, we're going home. I thought that everybody played the parts really well, and I talked earlier on in the review about how each film sort of like matures with how old the three leads are. And so like the first one is very much a kid's film, and then the second one's a little bit darker, and then the third one is sort of like on the cusp, isn't it? And then the fourth one, it's that sort of like 14-year-old teenage angst, you don't know me, it's not fair.
Number 15 starting to explore relationships and things like that.
Yeah, with this one and a bit of the last one, they're sort of like 15, 16, they're starting to sort of explore their feelings for one another, and like Laura says, getting into relationships, and Ron being jealous of Hermione, Harry being jealous of Ginny, and
Hermione being jealous of Ron,
and
yeah.
it just all, sort of, all that sort of starts to get explored, and this one sort of gets, sort of plays out that bit of character development. Obviously, it ends ultimately with Professor Dumbledore's death at the hands of Severus Snape, who it's revealed in this one has been a double agent for Voldemort all along. Dumbledore was supposed to have been killed by Malfoy, who's been in training to become a Death Eater, but at the last minute, sort of Malfoy can't bring himself to do it, and
at the hands of an unbreakable vow that Snape made with Malfoy's mum, Snape obviously has to do the deed instead.
But obviously we learn more about that in the next story, the next two films, don't we? And that's pretty much the story of it. Harry vows that he's going to leave Hogwarts and finish the journey that Dumbledore started to find and destroy all the Horcruxes, fully understanding the prophecy from the end of the last one that he must kill Voldemort, or Voldemort must kill him to end this whole thing. And yeah, so that's where we're at with that one. Do you know? I don't know. It's just averages this one for me. I'm probably going to put it in the same ballpark as I put the last one, and probably say 6 out of 10 for me. What were your thoughts, Sweet?
Yeah, like you said, it's a good. I wouldn't say space filler, but it's like it gives you all the information you need for the next two films and everything. I don't
think it's filler, but it is full of exposition. This film is the exposition film, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, again, really good acting from some of the characters. You get to have a proper look at Malfoy's parents. Bellatrix, she's got a bigger role in it. Helena Bonham Carter plays her brilliantly. Just credit where it's due with the actors and everything reprising all their roles.
I think that's one thing that everybody pretty much agrees on that can be said throughout is the people that they've picked for the big parts, for the small parts, and the everything in between parts. Everybody who's been picked to be in these films plays the parts admirably. You couldn't imagine anybody else playing the part, save for where unfortunately like Richard Harris passed away and Michael Gambon took over, but even though it's a completely different portrayal of the character, both visually and obviously, Michael Gambon's not trying to emulate what Richard Harris did. It works seamlessly, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jim Broadbent, who plays Professor Slughorn, bumbling old man, sort of stepping back into old shoes.
Harry, my boy!
Doesn't really know what's going on, wandering around, things like that. Jim Broadbent does a really good job of that. And like I said, Helena Bonham Carter, I don't think anybody could portray insane better than her for that character as well.
Not for Bellatrix. I couldn't think of anybody better to do it.
That role was made for her, I think.
I think we're rambling a little bit.
Yeah, we are.
But yeah, so we're on to the last two now. So obviously Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, and we'll see you after that. So like I say, I'm gonna go 6 purely for me because it just felt a little bit. It's not as exciting as some of the others.
I'm going to say 6.5 purely for the way they played out Dumbledore's death scene where everybody finds him on the ground and with the wands. Yeah, that scene hit home, which is sad. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 for that.
Fair enough. Right, we'll see you after the next one.
Yeah, we will.
So, we've done it.
Yes.
We thought since it's all one story, we'd do a review for Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 in one go. So a quick recap. In Part 1, the trio have left Hogwarts. They are searching for the remaining Horcruxes. They find out that the locket from the last film obviously is fake, and that it was actually Sirius's brother Regulus that had found it originally. And then obviously cloned the locket. Since Sirius had died, the house had actually been turned over by Mundungus Fletcher, and the locket inadvertently gets sold to Professor Umbridge. So they infiltrate the Ministry of Magic to get the locket off Umbridge. They manage to destroy that. Ron falls out with the group for a bit and leaves, and then sort of comes back to the rescue later as they find the sword of Gryffindor in the Forest of Dean. They go to see Xenophilius Lovegood, who educates them on the Deathly Hallows, and they start to put it together that the Hallows might be, might be what's at stake here. They get away from Lovegood's house, as Voldemort and his crew turn up to to try and capture them, and end up apparating into a group of Snatchers who take them to Malfoy Manor. They're rescued from Malfoy Manor by Dobby, who is inadvertently sort of killed as part of that, and that's where part 1 ends. So in part 2 we pick up Snape's taking over as the headmaster for Hogwarts now. It's sort of been run very much in line with Voldemort's beliefs and teachings, and Neville makes a comment at one point in the film that Defence Against the Dark Arts is practicing dark spells on the first years. Harry and co break into Gringotts Bank after Bellatrix lets slip that there's something in her vault that Voldemort would be very upset if it's not there, believing it to be a Horcrux. It is. They break in and get that out with the help of one of the goblins, who ultimately betrays them and then is killed by Voldemort. They escape and go to Hogsmeade, where they meet Dumbledore's brother, who helps them get into the castle, and then all hell breaks loose.
Battle of Hogwarts.
Absolutely. Harry, realising that he is the final Horcrux, surrenders himself and gives the rest of the guys the instructions that they need to kill the snake and then kill Voldemort. Surrenders himself to Voldemort, believing that he'll die. The curse only kills the Horcrux in him and sends Harry onto like limbo, like purgatory, sort of a thing, where he meets with Dumbledore's ghost, who gives Harry the option of you can either go back and face him, or you can catch a train and go on. Harry, of course, defeats Voldemort. Neville kills the snake, and all's well that ends well, really, isn't it? That's the abridged. Do you know what? Part 1 in places dragged. I'm gonna sort of before I let you jump in with your thoughts. My biggest problem with this is they split the film into 2 parts. And I get when they've made the first 6 films, there's things that have to hit the cutting room floor to save time and save money and things like that. And there are some subplots, some characters that just can't make the cut, and that you're never going to please all fans, and you accept that. But with this one, when they said we're going to split it into 2 films, I thought they were literally going to adapt everything that they possibly could without having needed prior setup.
Yeah,
and there were, like you made comment, 10 minutes into the first one, we're watching the Dursleys drive away, and there's a really emotional scene there where I wouldn't say they make amends, but they sort of reach a point where
Dudley and Harry can
have
a family thing.
Yeah, that's Dudley and Harry sort of, I suppose you can call it make some sort of amends, but it's more the scene with Petunia, and it's a deleted scene on the DVD. But the scene where Petunia says, "You didn't just lose your mother, I lost my sister," and there's a bit of an exchange with Vernon as well, and it's just a shame that we've seen that journey of of him with them, and then that's the final goodbye.
And then they cut that out.
And there's other bits along the way as well, more flashbacks and things like that. One addition I did like was them going down into the Chamber of Secrets to get more basilisk fangs. So that's not in the original book, but I thought that was a really good addition.
I like the way they bring back the door there as well, because I always did have a fascination with the door, with the snake door thing. I
mean the whole thing's done really well. From the filmmaking point of view, the production team and the director's been the same from, I think it's the 5th film onwards. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 film. Those last 4 films all have a very strong sort of like continuity with the aesthetic and things like that, and that's done really well. The cast are absolutely fantastic. Again, obviously you've got the main trio: Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, fantastic in their roles. Maggie Smith, Mel Staunton's back. Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort. There's absolutely just a stellar cast. Alan Rickman's fantastic as Snape. He really is, and just everybody who's in it, really. Helena Bonham Carter again, brilliant. Warwick Davis, he plays quite a lot of roles throughout the series, and he's a really sort of valuable actor to have involved. Yeah, Toby Jones comes back as Dobby. It's just a really good finale and culmination of the stories. Part 2's the better of the 2 films in my opinion. I do like part 1. And was it a sensible idea to split it into two films? Probably, yeah, because you got to do possibly more than you would have done, otherwise. But like I say, it's a shame still that things still hit the cutting room floor. But then again, you're never gonna please everybody. I'm gonna give part one a 6 out of 10, but then I'm gonna give part two an 8 out of 10. What are you going to do? What's your thoughts first?
Well, like you said, part one, obviously they've cut out quite a few bits which I think should have stayed in. The scenes with the Dursleys for starters. I've seen the bit where Dudley and Harry make amends as such, and Dudley says, "I don't think you're a waste of space." Even that in itself goes to show Dudley's probably had his thoughts changed ever since the attack with the Dementors. I think that's really what's caused Dudley to start feeling that way. And part one, I guess it just lays out the scene again, like with Half-Blood Prince and everything. You've got them looking for the Horcruxes in the forest. Ron obviously falls under the influence of the locket, and that's the reason he falls out with them. Because he says as soon as he disappeared, he regretted it immediately because he wasn't wearing the Horcrux anymore. And obviously, when they try to destroy the first one, Voldemort does his absolute damnedest to basically tear Ron apart. Make him feel worthless. That was good, the way they did that, and how they made all the Horcruxes try to fight back, as it were. Good cast as well. Kelly MacDonald, who plays Helena Ravenclaw, she was really good and everything. Helena Bonham Carter's back in it. Julie Walters again.
Not my daughter, you bitch.
She's brilliant as Molly Weasley. Proof you don't mess with Molly Weasley at all. She's brilliant.
The entire cast of the Weasley family are all just perfectly
absolutely
cast.
Perfect. Part one, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I'll say 6.5, just because returning cast amazing. Toby Jones as Dobby, I think he was perfect for that. Warwick Davis playing all the little characters, or most of the little characters.
He doesn't play most of them in this one, but he does Flitwick, doesn't he? He does Griphook, and he's done other characters, throughout as well, hasn't he?
And then part two, like I said, definitely better than the first. You've got the Battle of Hogwarts. You've got Harry fighting Snape in the Great Hall as well, and that, and saying, "Fight back! Tell him where you stood! Tell him the night you killed Dumbledore!" and everything like that. And you've got Maggie Smith with her favourite line as well. I always wanted to use that spell. She's perfect. She's absolutely perfect. Part two is definitely a lot better. There's the heartbreaking scene with how many people have died and everything, and the Weasleys losing one of theirs, and then Lupin and Tonks and everything. And it just really gets you in the feels, definitely. But part two is definitely more well played out. The final battle, you've got Harry fighting Voldemort. Multiple. The battle takes place all throughout the castle and the grounds, doesn't it? Yeah, and then obviously you've got Neville, who delivers the final blow to the final Horcrux. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, final thoughts on the franchise as a whole then?
Well,
enjoyed it?
Yeah, I'm going to give part two first. I'm going to give part two...
Oh yeah, you haven't rated it, have you?
Yeah, I'm going to give part two a 7.5.
7.5, well there you go.
Yeah.
Go on then, so overall, you enjoyed the marathon?
Oh yeah, definitely. Harry Potter has got to be my favourite film series. My favourite film series, definitely.
There we go. Well, hopefully the rumours of a film adaptation of Cursed Child, which isn't a bad read, to be fair. I've not seen the play, but it's not a bad read. Hopefully that comes true one day and they bring the original cast back. Though Snape's quite prominent in it through the use of time travel. So I don't know, and I don't know how they'd get around that, because I don't think you could recast him.
No, you couldn't. I wonder what they'd do with the Star Wars thing and maybe do the facial...
I hope not.
No, that wouldn't work.
Sincerely hope not. But you never know. If they do that, then maybe there'll be a second part to this. But for now, we chose not to look at Fantastic Beasts purely because we didn't have time. I've seen the first one.
The first one was...
well, I think I might have said earlier in this, I was indifferent towards it. I thought it was...
Good cast, Eddie Redmayne and...
Colin Farrell in there, and...
special appearance by Johnny Depp, things like that, yeah.
It's... But yeah, it was just really, it was like, well, yeah, I know that, I recognise this and that. I love the franchise, as we both have grown up with it, very fond memories of my aunt taking the whole family out one Saturday afternoon to go and see this in the cinema, because it was, it was a real event. Obviously the books were the phenomenon that they were, and then they're going to make the films, and I can't remember whether there was 3 or 4 books out at the time the first film came out, but there was already enough that there was that sort of mania about it. And
I just remember my mother disappearing out one evening to go to a midnight release of the last book or something like that.
Oh yeah, well by the time the last book had come out, it had completely swept the earth, hadn't it, really? But when the first film came out, and like I said, we had the family trip out to go and see it.
I was about 5 when the first film came out, so I don't remember how big it was, but
it was huge. We queued down the road to get in the cinema, and there was a cinema in Harrogate where a lot of my family are from, and we queued down the road, and they had all the screens booked out just showing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and we queued to, like say, for ages to sort of get in, and then watched it, and the film was fantastic, and it was like, oh my god.
I do remember queuing for the midnight showing of Deathly Hallows Part 1 and everything. I remember that.
I just saw Deathly Hallows Part 1 about a week after it came out, because I was a little underwhelmed by Half-Blood Prince, and then I realised that because they were doing it in 2 halves, I thought, well, it's just going to be the Forest movie, isn't it? Because that's the first part of the book, and so. But part 2, I did the midnight release for.
As well, yeah.
But I remember when the second one came out, it was the first time I ever remembered sort of being caught up in the, the buzz for a sequel sort of thing, and it's sort of one of my my earliest sort of memories of really sort of been like. Because a lot of, anything I'd sort of watched up to that point, there wasn't any sort of sequels in active development. Grew up watching a lot of things like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and actually I'd not got to Star Wars at that point, to be fair. It was the prequels that brought me onto that. But anyway, a lot of the stuff that I was watching wasn't, there wasn't active sequels or follow-ons, whatever, in development. But with this, when Chamber was coming out, and I remember the trailer was dropping online, and we had dial-up internet, like the don't use the phone, I'm on the computer, and that sort of thing. And I remember Dad helping me sort of, we had to like load the web page, and you think now you click on a YouTube video or Facebook or wherever, and you're watching something, there's no buffering time whatsoever, even in the worst Wi-Fi areas. I'm not kidding, the trailer for Harry Potter 2 took 6 hours to like download and buffer and play through for like the minute 30-second teaser trailer or whatever, and I just remember being so hyped for it.
My fondest childhood memories, obviously, as I was telling you whilst we were watching it, was Prisoner of Azkaban. My grandma, I think, had only 2 films. One of them was Chamber of Secrets, the other one was Prisoner of Azkaban. And I remember at the time deciding which one I wanted to watch with her, and just being like, I remember being absolutely terrified by Chamber of Secrets. And I'm like, no, I want to watch Prisoner of Azkaban. And that just became a tradition. Nearly every time I went over to my grandma's house, we'd always sit down together and watch Prisoner of Azkaban. So I always just remember feeling very happy watching that with her. And obviously, with her no longer being of this earth, that film obviously is quite a special one for me. So
no, absolutely. Well, we've descended into a bit of a rambling there, but it's our thoughts on the franchise. Thanks very much if you've made it to this point in the video. You can click somewhere around the screen or below or to the sides.
Here,
somewhere.
Just here.
You're gonna look daft if I can't put it there. Now,
I know.
But click wherever it is on the screen if you want to see more,
just
and
put
subscribe.
Put it over my face. It's fine. Just put it over my face.
Thank you very much for watching. We hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, I think our next one we're planning is going to be the Jackie Chan marathon, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know when these will make it to YouTube. That might make it here before this. Who knows? But like I say, whatever we end up doing next, we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thank you very much.